The history of magic is as old as human civilization itself, interwoven with religion, science, and the quest for control over the unknown. In ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, ritual practices involving incantations and offerings were common, seen as a legitimate way to influence the world, protect against demons, and even purify oneself of accidental sin. The term, magus, originated with the Zoroastrian priests of ancient Persia, but the concept soon spread, often gaining negative connotations in the Greek and Roman worlds, where practices like goetia, the calling upon spirits, were viewed with suspicion. During the Middle Ages, while the Church often condemned magic as the work of the devil, some learned individuals engaged in Hermeticism and Kabbalah, seeking hidden knowledge and power through complex rituals often recorded in grimoires, which are textbooks of magic. The Renaissance saw a resurgence of esoteric studies, before the Enlightenment pushed magic further to the fringes of mainstream thought, increasingly associating it with superstition, or reframing it as staged magic or illusion. The concept of the most powerful sorcerers is a blend of historical record, myth, and legend. Figures like Apollonius of Tyana, c. 15, c. 100 c., a Greek philosopher, were credited with miracles rivaling those of religious figures, such as vanishing from a locked prison. Another legendary figure is Simon Magus, a 1st-century Samaritan magician whose failed attempt at flight in Rome became a popular cautionary tale in early Christian tradition. In the realm of legend, the most enduring figure is perhaps Merlin of Arthurian myth, whose immense power and wisdom define the archetype of the great wizard. The modern understanding of magician often refers to illusionists like Harry Houdini and David Copperfield, who achieved global fame by perfecting the art of misdirection and illusion, distinguishing their craft from the purported supernatural power of historical sorcerers. The types of magic are incredibly diverse, varying widely across cultures and fictional systems, but they can generally be categorized by intent and method. Black magic and white magic are the most common distinction, with black magic being spells or rituals intended to cause harm, manipulate, or gain personal power selfishly, like curses and necromancy, and white magic focusing on healing, protection, and benevolent aims. Other common types include elemental magic, control over fire, water, earth, or air, divination, foreseeing the future or gaining hidden knowledge through tools like tarot or astrology, alchemy, the transformation of matter, creating elixirs or potions, and necromancy, communicating with or controlling the dead. More complex forms involve chaos magic, which emphasizes belief and the shifting of paradigms, and ceremonial magic, often called magic, which involves elaborate, prescribed rituals, often drawing on esoteric texts and occult philosophies. The spread of magic has been global and continuous. Every culture in the world has developed its own forms of magical practice, from the shamanism of indigenous tribes, which often involves communicating with spirits and nature, to the complex, written traditions of the Western esoteric schools. In Africa, various spiritual and magical systems like juju and Ifa divination are still practiced, while Asian traditions include everything from Taoist alchemy to the use of fu, magical talismans, and intricate forms of folk magic. This global diffusion demonstrates that the human desire to influence destiny, understand the unseen, and acquire power beyond the mundane is a universal, persistent force throughout history. The study of witches, in the context of ancient Egypt, is complex, as the concept of a sinister, female sorcerer, akin to the later European folklore figure, did not precisely exist. Instead, ancient Egyptian society viewed magical practice, known as Heka, \text HK, \overline, A-W, the deified force of magic and power, as a fundamental cosmic energy and an integral part of religion, medicine, and daily life. The practitioners of Heka, both male and female, were generally respected, and their function was to use this divine force to maintain Ma'at, cosmic order and justice, and protect the people from misfit, chaos, and evil. The role of magic in ancient Egyptian life. Magic in ancient Egypt was not a separate, feared practice but rather a tool intrinsically linked to the temples and the state. The most prominent practitioners were the lector priests, the Keriheb, highly educated men who read and recited from the sacred magical texts. However, Heka was accessible to the pharaoh, who was the ultimate high priest, and to ordinary people who used spells, incantations, and amulets for daily protection. The uses of magic were overwhelmingly practical and benevolent. Protection, apotropaic magic guarding the home, the living, and the deceased from malevolent spirits, demons, and the dangers of the desert, such as snakes and scorpions. Healing, magic was considered inseparable from medicine. Physicians often called themselves priests of Heka, and used spells and divine invocations alongside herbal remedies to cure illness, which was frequently attributed to malevolent spirits. Fertility and childbirth, crucially, magic was heavily employed by women, often assisted by priestesses, midwives, and wise women, to ensure safe delivery, aid conception, and protect the newborn child. The birthing chair, for example, was often decorated with protective deities like Tauret and Bes. Love and business, spells were cast for personal gain, such as securing love, ensuring a profitable business venture, or achieving success in a legal dispute. Female practitioners and wise women. While the highest echelons of magical practice in the formal temples were typically held by male lector priests, women held significant roles as magical specialists, though they were rarely termed witches, in the sense of an outcast or an evil figure. 1. Midwives and nurses. These women were seen as channeling a powerful, protective Heka, particularly during the vulnerable time of childbirth, calling upon goddesses like Hathor and Isis. 2. Dream interpreters. Wise women were highly sought after to interpret the often elusive messages from the gods or the deceased that appeared in dreams, a skill predominantly, though not exclusively, associated with women. The Temple of Hathor at Dendera, which had a significant female presence, was a known center for dream interpretation. 3. The Riket, this term, meaning the one who knows, female, appears in texts and seems to refer to a specialist with secret, magical knowledge, possibly functioning as a local seer, midwife, or prophet. Evidence is scarce, but the Riket seems to have acted both beneficially and malevolently, suggesting a local, independent magical specialist. 4. Royal women. Even royal women, such as those involved in the infamous harem conspiracy, during the reign of Ramesses III, circa 1186 to 1155 BC, utilized destructive magic. In this plot, one of the royal women reportedly used a book of destructive spells to create magical figurines and curse the king, highlighting that Heka was a tool available at all social levels, including those seeking to gain power. Harmful magic and sorcery. While Egyptian Heka was mostly protective, the capacity for offensive or harmful magic, what one might modernly call black magic, or sorcery, was definitely present. Egyptians generally preferred to believe that harmful magic was performed by their foreign enemies. However, they themselves engaged in execration rituals to protect the state, which involved ritually cursing enemies. This involved writing the enemy's name on pots, tablets, or small bound figurines, which would then be ritually destroyed by smashing, burning, or stabbing, symbolically destroying the person's essence. This practice was performed against both the state's external foes and internal human enemies of the pharaoh. In late antiquity, as the cultural landscape of Egypt shifted under Greek and Roman influence, the perception of magic, especially when practiced by women, became more ambiguous. There is some evidence that magic used by women was seen as sneakier, or less direct than that used by men, often employing spells related to persuasion or seduction. However, in earlier periods, spells were often gender-neutral, with the same incantation used by either a man or a woman to achieve similar ends in love or business. Ultimately, the Egyptian witch was not a singular, demonic figure but a recognized specialist, a healer, a midwife, or a seer, who wielded Heka, the very power that created the universe. Her existence was a testament to the belief that the supernatural was not a realm of the forbidden, but an essential energy to be harnessed for life, health, and order.